The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Book review. So a while back, I was on this kick where I wanted to kind of kick up the amount of fiction I was reading. And I wanted to also diversify, kind of get out of kind of my usual ghettos of reading material. So I started just kind of asking all my friends, give me your top 5 recommendations for fiction. And asked a variety of people and just collected like this huge list of recommendations. This book, The Remains of the Day, actually popped up a few different times. 2 times by people I really respected, you know, like people who seem to have quite good taste in books. Both of them recommended this book to me. This book had not been on my radar previously. I knew about the movie, the Anthony Hopkins movie, and I never actually saw it, but I knew about it, and I had not thought that this book was supposed to be particularly high art, so it wasn't really on my radar. But after 2 people whose opinions I really respected recommended it to me, I decided to give it a go. It's one of the best books I've read in a long time. But it did take me a while to get into it. So this is one of those books where you kind of start it, you get a few pages in, and then you stop reading and you get distracted by other books. That happened to me twice. I had 2 times where I got about 20 pages in, and then I just left it and went out for other books. The 3rd time was the time I stuck with it. It does take a little bit of persistence to get into. The first 20 pages are pretty dry, but if you can make it to about page 75, then you'll be hooked on it by that time. Before I started reading this book, I had asked my friends what their recommendations were. And I noticed that my friends, although they recommended it highly, were never able to tell me what the book was about. One of them said this was the most I was able to get out of him. He said, I read it when I was 25, and I recognized in it all the mistakes I had made in my own life. Then I reread it when I was 30, and I saw even more mistakes. Also professional reviewers. When I would kind of read professional reviewers, I noticed the same pattern. Nobody's able to really talk about what this book is about. Now that I've finished it, I find myself in the same position. It's very difficult to kind of say what this book is about. That's because of the structure of the book, the kind of narrative structure and how a lot of it is in flashbacks. And because of all the different themes that the book is juggling, it doesn't lend itself well to summary. The best I can do in kind of describing the narrative structure is it's about an English butler who takes a road trip. While encountering various sights on the road, he spends a lot of his time reminiscing about his life, which has been devoted to serving his master, Lord Darlington. It will be interesting to see how this book is regarded in 100 years. I mean, none of us will be around, but it could well end up being one of those classics that's taught in literature classes in 100 years. Certainly, it reminded me of a lot of the classic books I had to read in my high school and college literature classes. It's a short book, but it touches on a lot of different themes. And it's able to interweave all of these themes pretty much seamlessly into one story. If you were to use this book in a literature class, there would be so many topics you could discuss. Class culture in England, interwar politics, the tendency of the British upper class during the interwar years to sympathize with Nazi Germany, the nature of people's dignity, the importance of your life work, the nature of relationships, and at the end, how do you evaluate your life? What is a life worth living? The book also manages to touch many different emotions flawlessly. There's a lot of really funny parts in this book. For example, my personal favorite was when the butler was given the job of explaining the birds and the bees to his employer's 23-year-old godson. But there are also a lot of really sad parts in the book, and the ending is absolutely devastating. Salman Rushdie supposedly said of this book, "A story both beautiful and cruel." I'm inclined to agree. It's definitely worth reading.